This picture here is of a philosopher called John Mackie, who is very famous for running a similar argument for um, why the evidence of disagreement in ethical judgments tries he argues leans towards the conclusion that there are no ethical facts. Um, and so, if we think of an example that's used by Mackie, Mackie used the example of people's ethical attitudes towards monogamy. And he says that when you look at the world as a whole and different cultures, it seems like there's a lot of ethical disagreement between people in their attitudes towards monogamy. So the idea that relationships should only contain two people. Um, and so Mackie wants to say, if you see pretty clear delineation here between different societies, both presently and historically, between cultures which have strong monogamous norms, i.e., that it's morally wrong to not be monogamous, versus cultures that have more relaxed monogamous norms. And Mackie wants to say that there's a kind of a dilemma here. There's two options that we can accept. So we can accept that one culture, for whatever reason, has access to intuitions that track the truth. So, for example, if we're operating in a monogamous culture, we might want to look at a non-monogamous culture and say, oh, intuitively, those people are wrong. What they're doing is ethically incorrect, or their views are ethically incorrect. And, Mackie says, it's always possible that, those people's intuitions are right. Their intuitions are tracking the truth. Whilst others are just wildly off. They, have intuitions that are, seem to them to be, very strong and very unchangeable, all the criteria of moral intuitions that we've seen before, but are wildly mistaken for whatever reason. Mackie says the other option is both of the culture's moral views emerge as a result of their social arrangements. So it's not that the social arrangements are following the morality, it's rather that the morality is following the social arrangements. So morality, or at least moral views, moral intuitions, have come about as a result of the way that things are in order to try and justify them. And so Mackie wants to say that he thinks that it's far more likely that the second option is what's been happening. So instead of one culture's moral intuition inexplicably all being correct and the others all being incorrect for who knows what reason, Mackie wants to say it's far more likely that we can tell another story about where these intuitions have come from that doesn't rely on either of them being true. And so Mackie, in his own argument, wants to use this to reject moral facts. For our purposes, we can be slightly more restricted and say that ethical disagreement seems to suggest that our intuitions are unreliable. And the key problem here is that for both sets of people, it's going to seem to them like something is morally obvious. It's going to seem to them like their intuitions are the ones that are reliable. But if it's two groups of people who both think that their intuitions are entirely reliable, one of them has to be wrong. And so it doesn't seem like simply having a strong moral intuition or thinking that you are morally correct is enough to suggest that intuition is reliable. At least somebody has got to have unreliable intuitions. And if we don't know that our intuitions are reliable, it doesn't seem like we ought to trust them. And that's the crux of how we're going to apply this evidence of relativity or disagreement to the question at hand about whether we should trust our moral intuitions.